listeners, to another thought provoking episode of BizBlend, where we decode success at the intersection of mindset, strategy, and leadership. Now, listeners, today's guest went from trauma survivor to crowned queen, literally, after navigating profound personal pain, abuse, divorce, and the heartbreaking loss of a child. She chose to reclaim her identity and power. What began as a personal 730-day challenge wearing a crown became a global movement inspiring thousands. But listeners, this isn't about tiaras, it's about transformation. As a Tony Robbins Senior Leader, she teaches others how to reclaim their power, rewrite their stories, and reign over their lives with grace, grit, and grounded confidence. So, whether you are leading a team or you're leading your life, I hope that today's episode will give you the tools to trade self doubt for sovereignty. So, let's quickly welcome our guest, Holly Fair. So, Holly, welcome to the show, and I'm really actually honored to have you here with us.
Well, thank you, Sana. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So Holly, you talk about leading from scars, not wounds. So can you break that down for our listeners? I mean, how do you know when a scar is ready to lead and not just leak pain?
We all have wounds. We get wounded throughout our lives, whether it's we have childhood traumas, loss of people, loss of jobs, financial insecurity, home insecurity. It's these different things will wound us. And there's a time when the wounds stay open and we almost keep picking at the scabs, uh, making our lives even more painful than they have to be by repeating disempowering patterns. And once we are able to stop that, the picking of the scab, the reopening of the wound, we're able to start healing and it may leave a scar, but that's kind of a badge of honor of, "Wow, look what I've been through, and look how I'm on the other side now."
Mm, that's empowering. That's empowering, Holly. And um, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they struggle with knowing when their personal journey becomes wisdom worth sharing, or when it's too soon. So I can totally make a sense of that. Now let's talk about, you wore a crown for 730 days straight. What was that
Yes.
that made you commit to that challenge, and how did it rewire your thinking? I'm so curious to know.
Started out as a fun thing. I I went through a deep transformation at a Tony Robbins event where I was on stage in front of 5,000 people with Tony Robbins and declared that day that I am a queen. And I decided to buy this tiara, real glitzy, beautiful tiara to wear for fun things and photo ops, things like that. And I had taken it on a trip to Paris. I put it on a few different times for pictures, outside of Versailles and such. And I had such a fun reaction from people that I thought, oh, this might be something I want to do more often. And then I realized that once I started wearing it,
Mhm,
it caused me to stand taller, to
mhm,
really walk as the queen and fully embody that identity. I realized that when I was at the grocery store, picking out mangoes for my morning smoothies, people were looking at me. And where I used to feel like, oh, they're looking at me in judgment,
uh-huh.
it was like, oh, well, yeah, people are looking at us all the time. And I've given them something interesting to look at. And it was a conversation starter. People would a lot of times, "Oh, is it your birthday?" or "What's the special occasion?" And to which I would say, "Not my birthday, I am living my queen life." And I see the royalty in all. I am not the queen, I am a queen. And I see all humans as having that royalty within and the sovereignty to lead our own lives with grace and abundance and wisdom.
Oh,
I ended up, I thought, oh, I'll wear it every day for a month. And then the month was over. And I thought, oh, I'll do 3 months. And then next thing you know, it's a year, and then, just shy of 2 years, I decided, "Okay, I've done this experiment. I've totally embodied it. I had traveled the world. I went to Egypt and South America, back again to Paris and London, and all over the United States. It was a really, fun thing, and I will wear it now for fun and for the photo ops again, but it was a great way to really anchor in that queen identity to where I fully do walk with that presence, and I a lot of women will have a tendency to not take up space.
mm,
We through society, learn to just kind of blend in and, don't
mm,
be too loud because then, then you're bossy, or you're bitchy or you grate on people. And it's about, you know what? No, I deserve and we all deserve to take our seat at the table, to take up space in this world and to let our lights shine.
absolutely, absolutely. And you know, that's the thing. First of all, I really loved the fact that you mentioned that I am a queen. I am not the queen because in a way, although physically we may not wear tiaras, but it's kind of a figurative tiara that we all, especially all the women.
Yes.
And
It,
sec-
absolutely.
yeah, go ahead, Holly. You were saying something.
Well, it's about that, because I did have a few people say, well, you know, queens and royalty, that whole thing, was rubbed them wrong, in that, well, there's the colonization and, there's the negativity that monarchies have had. And I had a dear friend, she's Native American, and she, talked to me about that. And she said, I know that's your thing, but I just, that it doesn't agree with me. And I realized that there's so much more about it. It's about and for me, it was always about the being a sovereign, a ruler of my own destiny, not over anyone in particular. And it's about finding that crown again. We all were born with these crowns, these, figurative crowns, and sometimes they get tarnished or they get stepped on. And it's about, polishing them and getting to where, yes, we feel like we really do walk with that royalty and we hold it in our hearts. And to me, queen energy is loving, it's compassionate, it's nurturing, it's providing that wisdom and that safe space for others, for my people being the people in my sphere, my community, my family, anyone that I hold dear is, part of my an extension of who I am, and I just think it's so beautiful that we as individuals have that opportunity to then uplift others and help them find the goodness within themselves so then they can go and send ripples out into their own spheres.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there is a journey. There are highs and lows. So I think although uh, we may be judged, we may be misunderstood, but I think it's really, really important to know and understand the context. So that's where I would like to request if you can share about your journey, Holly. I mean, you have gone through abuse, divorce, and then also heartbreaking loss of a child. So I mean, if it's okay with you, if you can share.
Oh, absolutely, sure, yes. I had a pretty rough growing up. I went through sexual abuse from my grandfather for over a period of 2 years. And it was my father's father, and so he, once he found out, felt really guilty, and he couldn't really look at me because every time he looked at me, he saw his failure as a parent, and he left my mom and I pretty suddenly
Okay.
to fend for ourselves, and my mom went back to nursing school, got her education, and it was at a period in my life as a young teenager that, wow, the world was pretty scary, and I had to go to work and start earning a living to help pay the bills, to keep the electricity on and such. And I got married young.
Mhm.
That wasn't, it was great at the time. And I can't say that I don't regret anything because I've learned from those experiences. Um, there was a lot of heartbreak involved there, and I found my husband after actually 2 marriages that didn't work out, and he was the one, and we've been together for 16 years now, and part of the whole thing was when we got together, he was older than I am, and I said, "Are you willing to have more children?" Because for me, my biological clock is tick, tick, ticking away, and that's a huge desire for me to I want to fulfill that motherhood. And
Mhm.
he's got 2 children that were adults at the time already, and he said, "Yes, I would be willing to do that." And we got married, and after a long engagement, and everything was in place and looked perfect on paper that we were gonna be the best parents, traveled the world and educated, and just all the nice home and the stability, and I was able to get pregnant after some time, and I was the happiest I'd ever been in my life. I was researching diaper brands and, baby names, and I was feeling so good, but I was feeling too good. And I contacted the doctor, and she had me do some tests and then had me come in for an ultrasound. And at the ultrasound, it was, just a cold, sterile room. If you've ever been in an ultrasound room, you'll understand that. The tech, I heard the heartbeat, and so my husband and I were excited because we heard this heartbeat and thought, okay, things are all right. And she went out and got the doctor, and my doctor came in and she sat at my bedside and she said, "Holly, I'm sorry. It's an ectopic pregnancy. The baby is growing in your fallopian tube and we have to remove it. It's not going to be it. It's not going to work. And, your life is in danger. We have to get you in surgery right now." Um, that was devastating. And I and it was 2 days before Christmas also, and so then that holiday was extremely bleak, and, what was a trauma in that respect then decided, "Okay, I'm not getting younger. Let's see an infertility specialist," and went through all the things, did all uh, the different hormones and drugs to try to stimulate fertility, ended up doing IVF, spent several tens of thousands of dollars and was not able to conceive. I realized it when the IVF, that final treatment didn't work, that it just was not in the cards. And it had just, every month knowing that it hadn't worked again. I mean, it took a toll on my mental health, my body. And I was so depressed that I ended up pretty much being in my bed for about 2 years. I was working as a professor at the time and working remotely, so I was able to sort of phone in the job, and I'd been doing it long enough that I was great at it, and it wasn't a challenge anymore. But boy, I let my body go. I let my relationships go. My house was a disaster. My poor husband felt like he didn't have a partner anymore because I was not engaging in life. And I realized that something had to give and decided to pursue this Tony Robbins event that ended up changing my life. So I'm a big fan of Tony, and that's why I'm active in his organization now as a senior leader. And I've also been a facilitator on his stage since that all happened and have spoken to thousands of people. I realized that all of the sadness of losing this child brought up then this feelings of inadequacy and of being dirty and of being bad and unworthy of as a child. If I wasn't worthy of being protected sexually, then why did I have any worth or any business having a child of my own and per- possibly having that, that generational trauma be perpetuated. And it took that big intervention and breakthrough to realize that, no, I am so much more than that, and I have a life to live. And I had put on a lot of weight. I had gotten up to 276 pounds. I'm not sure what that is in kilograms. I probably should look that up, for our international audiences.
Mhm.
And I was extremely unhealthy. After my Tony Robbins intervention, I got a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and I know that success leaves clues. And so I worked really hard to get there and I'm down to 130 pounds. So I've lost well over half of my body weight, and life is so much brighter. I am healthier. I have more energy, and I've got a life again and a light from inside me that I'm really letting show out. And even more than the weight loss, I've become comfortable in my own skin. And I think some of that does come with age. Have you felt that, Sana, that as you've aged, uh, you sort of relax into your own a little bit?
That's true. That's true. And now I feel that I need not have any kind of um, validation. I'm open to constructive criticism, feedbacks,
Mhm.
but I think this is the time when gradually I am beginning to be more constrained and not restricted, but kind of trying to create a balance in terms of how I perceive the validations around me. Whether it's and it's especially in relationships and personal aspects, because I'm also right now in that duration of taking time off from my career, working remotely. Um, Staying being more and more connected with my loved ones. So now gradually
Beautiful.
I'm able to have that realization every day and night goes that right now it's not the time to be more validated or receive any kind of validations, but be more open, having that clarity and having that understanding of that what I want and what I know about myself and what's happening around me.
Yes. And with that realization and that comfort in yourself, not requiring so much external validation, it's beautiful because then we are able to go out and give the validation to those who so desperately need that love and are crying out for that compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Harith, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that because it definitely takes a lot of courage and vulnerability. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
And I think our listeners will definitely get the context of how empowering can be something as lovely and figurative as wearing a tiara. So
Yes.
so before we wrap up, what would you like to say to someone listening to this conversation if they want to uh, take some steps today to reclaim their personal power and upgrade their self image, not the image in front of others, but self image?
First of all, it is learning to not only love yourself, but to like yourself. There are so many beautiful things about us. Take an inventory of all the things you are great at, all of your qualities. And for some people, that is tough to do. We become so self critical and are just in the okay, what did I do wrong? And oh, I've got this flaw or that flaw, or oh, I didn't do that very well. If you have a hard time getting started, ask a friend, ask someone who you care about their opinion. What is it that you see in me? What are my good qualities to get you started, to get the juices flowing, and then go, oh yeah, and oh, well, I like this about myself too. So create an inventory of your your star qualities. What makes you you, and start a gratitude practice. The things that you are thankful for, that daily, when we are in gratitude, we can't possibly be in the sadness and in the confusion or the despair. That helps to lighten things and really so I do a gratitude practice. I do some mirror work in the mornings, looking at myself and telling myself, I love you. And, you've got this beauty, you've got this girlfriends, you can do anything. That also will help. As well as, and this sounds a little bit silly maybe, but my number one trick is to smile. Smile all the time. You and I especially smile through the hard things. I was just on a hike yesterday with my husband, and it was really steep and really rocky. And I found myself starting to kind of whinge about, "Oh, more of this, really? I thought you I thought you said this hike wasn't gonna be so bad as the one we did the day before." And he said, "I'm sorry, it looked easier on the map." Not that, I mean, this was like a really challenging hike and I hike okay, but this one was tough. And I'm like, "Okay, Holly, check your facial expressions." I know I was scowling and, kinda gritting my teeth, and so I put that smile back on, and it's like, okay, when I'm smiling, things look brighter. It helps release dopamine in our brains, and it feels good, and then also people will respond in kind. People will smile back at you, and there is just something that is so beautiful about seeing another person's energy and connecting with someone else on that level where words don't have to be spoken. There's just the glance, seeing the humanity and the goodness and the beauty. I don't know a single person who doesn't look even more stunning when they are smiling. So smile, especially through the hard things.
That's a beautiful one, Holly. Oh, and a beautiful example as well. Great. And also, if our listeners they would like to connect with you, what will be the best way?
Yes, you can visit my website at fireuplife.com. That is fire, FIREUP, fireuplife.com. And you can also email me at Holly, HOLLY, at fireuplife.com.
Wonderful. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes for our listeners. And Holly, goodness, this was such. This conversation is such a powerful reminder that our past does not define our future. We can learn from our past, and we can be prepared for our future, but we should definitely love and enjoy our present. So today's conversation with Holly listeners isn't just about wearing crowns, it also about wearing truth. So thank you so, so much, Holly.
Thank you, son. It's been a pleasure. And yes, you wear that crown proudly as you walk through your day, that invisible crown.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, to all the listeners, once again, we have explored what it means to lead from scars, claim your worth, and reset your identity from the inside out. So, whether you are building a business or rebuilding your self image, remember that resilience isn't born, it is chosen. So, until next time, keep blending purpose with power. And to connect with Holly, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. This is BizBlend, and I'm your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.